The world wakes in silence. No waves, no tides, no sound of the sea across every coastline on Earth. The water is gone, frozen solid from the Arctic to the equator. A sheet of ice now stretches endlessly to the horizon. Ships are trapped in place. Fish lie motionless beneath miles of frozen sea. The blue planet has turned white, and humanity has only hours to understand what has happened before the planet itself begins to unravel. What if, overnight, the oceans turned completely to ice? Water is life. It shapes continents, dries weather, and carries heat around the globe. 70% of Earth's surface is ocean. It is not just water. It is the beating heart of the planet's climate system. But what if that heart suddenly stopped? Imagine going to sleep one night while waves lap quietly against the shore, and by morning, every drop of seawater, every ocean, every current, every tide has frozen solid. The Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, 3 frozen giants wrapped around a dying world. No storms, no waves, no motion, just stillness. For the oceans to freeze overnight, something unthinkable must occur. The average temperature of Earth's oceans is around 17 degrees Celsius, or about 62 degrees Fahrenheit. To freeze salt water, you would need to drop it to about -2 degrees Celsius, or 28 degrees Fahrenheit. To freeze the entire ocean, top to bottom. That is billions of cubic kilometers of water. Such a sudden freeze would release unimaginable amounts of energy, enough to reshape the atmosphere and the crust itself. This could only happen through a planetary-scale event. Perhaps the sun suddenly dimmed, or the atmosphere was stripped away overnight, or a cosmic shockwave, something like a gamma-ray burst, cooled the planet in hours. Whatever the cause, the result would be the same. Every living thing in the ocean would die instantly. The great circulatory system of the Earth would collapse, and what follows would change the planet forever. To understand the consequences, we first have to understand what the oceans really do. They are not just vast pools of water. They are engines of balance. Every day sunlight heats the ocean surface. Currents carry that heat from the equator toward the poles, regulating global temperatures. Without the oceans, the poles would freeze and the tropics would burn. Storms would vanish, winds would weaken, the global climate would fall apart. The oceans also produce half the oxygen we breathe. Tiny plankton, microscopic plants that live in the sunlit surface waters, release oxygen as they photosynthesize. When the oceans freeze, those plankton die, and with them, the air itself begins to thin. Every breath would carry a little less life. In Earth's history, there is only one event that even comes close. Scientists call it Snowball Earth. About 700 million years ago, the planet may have frozen almost completely solid. Ice stretched from the poles to near the equator. Even the oceans were sealed under thick sheets of ice. Volcanoes kept the planet alive, venting carbon dioxide into the air until greenhouse gases eventually thawed the world again. It took millions of years to melt, but in our scenario, it does not take millions of years. It takes one night. It starts at dawn. Coastal cities are the first to realize something is wrong. Fishermen step onto docks expecting the tide. Instead, they find silence. The water has vanished, replaced by a vast, glittering plain of solid ice stretching to the horizon. Ships are frozen in place, like insects trapped in amber. Entire harbors are still. The sun rises, but it brings no warmth. The air itself feels heavier, colder. Within hours, panic spreads. Scientists confirm the impossible truth. The oceans are gone, frozen solid from surface to seafloor. Communication satellites record the same image. Everywhere, the Earth has turned white. The blue planet has died. Overnight, the immediate effect is temperature collapse. Oceans normally store and distribute heat. Without liquid water, that heat vanishes into space. Coastal regions experience instant freezing. Tropical rainforests wither within hours. Without evaporation, there are no clouds, no rain. The skies turn sharp and clear, but lifeless. Winds slow, storm systems collapse. The great ocean currents, the Gulf Stream, the Pacific Gyre, the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, all stop forever. Weather as we know it ceases to exist. Air begins to cool rapidly, sinking toward the frozen surface. The planet's climate stabilizes at a deadly new equilibrium. Frozen oceans, frozen skies, frozen life. The global food chain collapses. Marine life dies first. Fish suffocate beneath the ice, unable to reach the surface. Whales, dolphins, and sharks, giants of the deep, are entombed in an instant. Coral reefs bleach and shatter under the ice. The great plankton bloomed vanish. Birds starve as the seas no longer feed them. The loss of evaporation means no rain. Rivers run dry, crops fail, global temperatures plunge further. Cities begin to lose power as ice sheets expand over coastal infrastructure. Within a month, major ports New York, Shanghai, London are buried beneath rising layers of frost and snow. The Earth enters a new ice age. The frozen oceans reflect sunlight back into space, accelerating the cooling. Average global temperature drops by 30 degrees Celsius. Entire ecosystems collapse. Human civilization, concentrated along coastlines, is forced inland. Nations fight for dwindling food and water supplies. The global population begins to fall, not from war, but from cold and hunger. From space, the Earth no longer glows blue. It shines white, a single frozen sphere adrift in the dark. The continents are connected by thick sheets of ice that once were oceans. You could walk from Alaska to Russia again, from Africa to Europe, from Australia to Asia. But there would be nowhere left to go. Volcanoes still erupt, their heat trapped beneath kilometers of ice, carving hollow caverns under the frozen sea. Deep below, strange new ecosystems might form, microbes surviving on chemical energy instead of sunlight. Life, in some form, always finds a way. But for humans, survival would depend on technology and time. Could we melt the oceans? Could we restore the world we lost? Perhaps with years of effort, if we endured that long. Earth's balance is delicate, yet resilient. Throughout history, the planet has swung between warm and cold, chaos and calm. But never has it changed this fast. Even during the ice ages, it took thousands of years for glaciers to advance or retreat. Our modern world, our cities, our crops, our technology is built on the stability of the oceans. We depend on their tides, their storms, their motion. Without them, the Earth is just a silent rock. The frozen planet would become a monument to stillness, a world locked in time. And yet, in that silence, there is truth. It reminds us how fragile our existence is, balanced on the thin edge of temperature and motion, of wind and water. We think of the oceans as eternal, unchanging, but they are not. They breathe for us, they cool us, they keep our worlds alive. If they stopped, if they froze, the Earth would stop with them. And maybe in that stillness, the universe would keep moving on, unaffected by our loss, indifferent to our end. So what if the oceans turned to ice overnight? The world would not end in fire or flood, but in silence, a frozen monument to what once was a living, breathing planet. And yet the question lingers. If something could freeze the oceans in a single night, what could it do next? Could it freeze the very air we breathe? Or perhaps it could freeze time itself?